In today's session, let's take up the purchase returns and the sales return books, which comes under the special purpose books. We have already seen the purchases book and the sales book, so these two are related to purchase books and sales books. Purchase returns book. First, we will take up this purchase return book. It's also called as the return outward book, right? So basically the purchase returns book is prepared in order to record those goods which have been returned to the suppliers, right? And again, these goods should have been purchased on credit, right? So those goods which had been purchased on credit and the buyer has noticed some fault in the items, either they are defective or they are not as per the order specifications, right, or some other reasons, right? Okay, maybe the quality is not up to the mark, or the consignment has been received late or something like that, right? So the buyer can return the goods back, right? And that will be recorded in the purchase returns books, right? The goods which had been purchased in cash, that will not come here. The goods which had been purchased on credit and they are being returned, right? So they are the purchase returns which will be recorded in this purchase returns books, right? So here basically when the goods purchased on credit, right, are returned to the seller or supplier of the goods due to reasons like defective goods, unsatisfactory quality of the goods, etc., right? These are recorded in the purchase return books, right? There is something called a debit note, which you should know in this, right? Whenever goods are being returned to the supplier, a debit note is prepared, right? And this debit note, along with the goods, the debit note is sent to the supplier, right? Now the debit note contains the amount of the goods that are being returned, right? We call it as a debit note because the party to whom the goods are being returned, their account is debited, right? So that's why it is called as a debit note, right? So debit note number is the basis on which this purchase returns book is made, right? Like in purchases book, sales book, you have an invoice number. Here you will have a debit note number and debit note number for the purchase returns books, on the basis of which we will be recording the entries, right? For sales return, it is the credit note, which I'll be coming to later on. So for the purchase returns book, debit note number is the basis for recording transactions in the purchase return book, right? Now look at this question. Only two transactions here. Return two tape recorders purchased from Prima Electronics at the list price of 2000 each, less trade discount 20%, and return four 2-in-1s purchased from Sandeep Electronics at the list price of rupees 2500 each, less trade discount 10%. So here we'll make this purchase returns books. Date, particulars, and here, as I said, we will have the debit note number, fine, then the ledger folio, fine, and details and amount. Okay, so the columns will be like this: date, particulars, this is debit note number, right, then you have the LF and details and amount, right? Okay, now the first transaction, the date is given as July 5th, so we'll write the date here, fine, July 5th, and the name of the company, return two tape recorders purchased from Prima Electronics, so here you will write Prima Electronics, and what were returned to them? Two tape recorders of rupees 2000 each, right? So here you will have of rupees 2000 each, that comes to two tape recorders is 2000 each, so that comes to 4000 rupees, right? Whatever is the trade discount given, that has to be deducted, so less trade discount 20%, right? So 4000 into 20% is 800 rupees, that will be deducted from here, 800, right? So here you will have 3200 as the amount, fine. So this is the first transaction, right? And then you will have the next one, which is July 23rd. So here you will write the date as July 23rd, and Messrs. Arun and Sons. So here the company name comes Messrs. Arun and Sons. Oh, sorry, I think I took out the wrong thing. Yeah, 1 minute. It's not Arun and Sons here. It's this one. Return four 2-in-1s purchased from Sandeep Electronics. So here you will have Sandeep Electronics. Sandeep Electronics. Return four 2-in-1s of rupees 2500 each, right? So here four 2-in-1s of rupees 2500 each, right? So that comes to 10,000, right? And then you have less 10% trade discount, right? Less trade discount of 10%, fine. So that is 1000 rupees. So here this will be 9000, which will come in the amount column, fine. So that's it. These are the only two transactions for the purchase returns books. So now you will total this. So 9000 plus 3200 is coming to 12200, right? That's all you have to do in the purchase returns books, right? And when you post this to the ledger, you will have a purchase returns account, fine. In the ledger we'll have this purchase return account. Purchase return account, this will come on the credit side, right? Purchases have a debit balance, purchase returns will have a credit balance, right? So here on the credit side, at the end of the month or at the end of the year, you will write buy sundries as per purchase return book, right? The total will come like this, 12,200, okay? And for the individual parties like Prima Electronics and Sandeep Electronics, it will come on the debit side like two purchase returns account in their account. So in Prima Electronics account you will have two purchase returns, 3,200. In Sandeep Electronics you will have two purchase returns, 9,000. So that is how we do the purchase returns book, right? And here the debit note number will come along with each and every purchase return, right? So that is all you need to understand about the purchase returns books. Now you have this sales return. Now sales return, as I said, sales return book is something which is for the credit sales, right? Okay. So those goods which had been sold on credit, right, which had been sold on credit, if they are returned back, right, then it should be entered in the sales return book, or we also call it as the return inward book, right? Now here in the sales return book you have a credit note instead of a debit note, okay? And here the credit note is the basis of recording the transaction. So instead of that column in the purchasers return book we had the debit note number, here we will have the credit note number. The credit note is sent to the customer, right? This is basically to intimate that his account has been credited. Fine. So credit note means his account has been credited. So here again let's do this small question here. Messrs. Latika and Associates returned 100 pieces of jeans of ₹300 each. No trade discount is given means nothing will be done. If trade discount is given, then that will be deducted, right? So very simple one here, wherein you have to just record the transaction, nothing else, right? So you'll have a date column, particulars. Remember this will be a credit note number, right? Ledger folio, details and amount, right? So here this is date, particulars, credit note number, fine, LF, and then details, and then amount, fine. Okay, now Latika and Associates, so here I'll write the name of the company, right? Date is not given there. 100 pieces of jeans, 300 each, right? Here you will write 100 jeans of rupees, of rupees 300 each, right? So that is 30,000 rupees, that will come here, fine. And there's no trade discount as such, so it's only 30,000 here, fine. And the next one is Arun and Sons returned 50 pieces of shirts worth 200 each, right? So here I'll write Arun and Company, 50 shirts of rupees 300 each, right? So this is how much? 15,000 rupees, right? So 15,000, right? So that's it. Okay, the total here is 45,000. So at the end of the month or at the end of the year, you'll have the sales return account. Sales return account will have a debit balance. So in the sales return account you will have, on the debit side you will write, I'll show you, sales return account. On the debit side it will come two sundries as per sales return book, right? And this amount will come 45,000. And for the individual, like we had Latika Associates, right? Here it will come on the credit side, right? You'll have buy sales return on that particular date, I mean the date of the transaction, buy sales return account, whatever was the amount. I think it was 30,000 or something like this. And in Arun and Sons you will have again by sales return 15,000, like this. So this is how it will be posted into the ledger. So in this session we have looked at the purchase returns book and the sales return book, and we have taken up a question on both of them. So with that I come to the end of this session. Bye.